So good morning everyone here on site, and hopefully there's someone online as well. Welcome to our workshop on problematic dams. And what we mean about problematic is such dams that arise sort of conflicts or where different stakeholders have different ideas what should be the future of the dam. Either it should be taken down to improve river connectivity and restore riverine ecosystems, or the dam should be preserved, for example, to create hydropower, to use the reservoir as a recreational site or some other uses, and therefore there might be some issues concerning these stakeholder groups. And today in this workshop, in the beginning, we will have 4 presentations on specific case studies from Estonia and from around Europe that deal with these issues and give examples how these situations have been solved. Then we'll have a break. The length of it depends on how well we keep the time schedule for the presentations. And then we'll have an hour for a roundtable discussion to all together here in place and also online to discuss these issues. And then 11:30 we will all gather in the big hall together to all the working groups will give a summary what we achieved. So for the beginning I'll give the floor to Annabel Runnel from Estonian Environment Agency, who will give a short overview about the dams that we deal in the CleanEST project.
Hello, I hope you don't mind I'm sitting. I'm looking at some notes. I'm a project manager from, is it working? The microphone, okay. From Estonian Environment Agency, and moment. Yeah, I will continue. I will give you an overview of the dams we are dealing in CleanEST project, and as you all heard from Mari's introduction speech yesterday, the CleanEST has many partners, and each of them has a specific responsibility in the project, and Environment Agency is specifically dealing with migration barriers. And besides migration barriers, we are also restoring spawning areas. We are monitoring the impact of the project activities, assessing the effectiveness of fish passes, both previously built and also built during the project. And we are assessing ecosystem services and how they are changing during the project. And as said, I will give you an overview of the dams in Viru sub-basin, and after you heard from Meelis Tambets about the situation in Estonia in general. And our activity C11 is addressing the migration barriers. In our project application, it is written that we have to find solutions for over at least 6 migration barriers by the end of 2025. And at the first stage of our project, we made an inspection of Viru sub-basin migration barriers, and from them we selected our priority objects. What are we dealing with? And the selection was based on different factors. For example, the fish population potential of the river, the technical feasibility of the projects, and the cost, for example. And the biggest object is the püsidam. And I will talk about it in the next slide. And for now, we have already demolished 4 dams from our priority list. and the works have been without detailed work projects, only with the technical assessment of hydrotechnical engineer, and 3 plus püsidam are ongoing. And these are the dams that we inventoried. And now I will focus on the Purtse river system. It is an important river in the context of our whole project. We are removing the residual pollution from there and its tributaries. Püsidam also locates there, and we are removing smaller obstacles and also restoring habitats and creating spawning areas. And we are hoping that the synergy of these different activities gives a significant effect and improves the ecological condition of the river. And about Püsidam, it is the first obstacle from the river mouth that is completely blocking the migration of fish, and so it is necessary to address it. And the dam itself gives cooling water and firewater for Repo company, and in the present moment, we have made a detailed work project. We also have made with company Cobras environmental impact assessment of the project. Yeah. What? Owner is Repo yeah, company. Yeah, and actually they are in bankruptcy at the moment. And about a year they have been, and but we are continuing with plans to demolish it, to build fish pass there, because there are possible interests for the Repo area, and the possible new owners might want to use the water as well. Besides creating the fish pass, we are also repairing the breach where the dam locates, because it's in a poor technical condition, and life program funding gives us opportunity to invest also in the infrastructure if the dam, if the property is, if the dam is in the property of project's partner, which for now it isn't. It belongs to the Repo, but it has to be given over to the municipality. So about the solution, we are building there close to nature, rapid fish pass. It's constructed wide enough, so it maintains the water level that is there now with the dam. And we are also creating the spawning area at the upper part of the fish pass. Here is the location on the map. With the red is the Repo factory. Another river we are addressing is Võsu River. This also has significant value as a spawning area for salmonids, and it's also in the list of regulation from the Minister of Environment, which protects spawning areas and water bodies of salmonids. And dam owner operator must ensure fish passage both upstream and downstream in these rivers. And mere- ja metsadams are the first ones from the river mouth, so their impact on the fish population is the biggest. And dams serve no specific purpose today. The owners also have no water permit for damming. And there have been long negotiations with the dam owners. And for Mera Dam, there was an issue from Environmental Inspectorate for them also, for the owners to ensure a fish passage. And for both dam owners, for there is important to maintain the current water level. And next to Metsa Dam, there is a motel, and they are using this little reservoir for swimming, for example. And at the moment, the owner of the Mere Dam is given us permission to remove the obstacle, and but we are securing the old mill house that's seen in the left picture. And for Metsa Dam, this is the right one, we are reconstructing the wall because there's danger that to the buildings and the wall itself, it's like worn or and construction is challenging there because the riverbanks are very steep. So yeah, but the compromises in the Metsa Dam, the owner is not given us consent to remove the object. We are making a fish pass close to nature, rapid fish pass there, which maintains the water level there. And one of our objects is Tamme Dam in Alajõgi River, which flows to Lake Peipus. And the monitoring has showed that this barrier is upstream passage for the fish coming from Lake Peipus. And owners of this dam were very cooperative, and the only condition they wanted was to secure the riverbank to prevent any potential danger to the old mill building located along the riverbank, which you can see on the picture below. And it also helps to prevent erosion during the high water. But had such a dam been located, for example, in a deep forest, there would have been no need to secure the banks. Another picture of the Tamme Dam. And we are also, there are a large number of smaller dams or dam ruins located in our rivers, and we have been removed some of these as well, and some with the help of the volunteers. So it's, I think it's also an important work to deal with these. And one of our objects is we are also doing a culvert replacement with cooperation with the Transport Administration. So thank you for listening, and I hope today's workshop will give us some solutions.
Thank you, Annabel. Do we have any questions? If no, then our next presenter will be Meelis Tambets from Wildlife Estonia. You have around 20 minutes, and he will give an overview. He will give us an overview about dams and dam removal in Estonia in general. So please, Meelis.
Okay. Good morning, tere hommikust. So I can see only Estonians here, but we have online English-speaking people, so I will do it in English. Good morning, everyone, and a little overview of dams in Estonia. Okay, but it is like I begin with the closest to this point, the dam, and actually this is the biggest in Estonia. Just to give overview for people who were yesterday at the dinner and didn't see much, it was dark, but just 1 kilometer from the place where we had our dinner, there is that was a view from our restaurant to the Narva River, really nice river, quite big one, the far biggest in Estonia, 400 cubic meters per second. It is, no, let's say even in European scale, it's not small river. So Estonia in the left and Russia in the right bank of the river. Nice river, big, a lot of fish in it, and everything looks good in this picture, but actually, and in this picture, everything is beautiful. Narva River has big rapids, very famous. Formerly, people from Europe just traveled to see these nice rapids. Island in the middle of the river, and really beautiful river, and it has been historically beautiful, but now you must be lucky to see that beauty of the river, of the waterfall. But actually, Narva River, what it is today is like this: no water in the river, and you can see dry waterfall, just fall, no water. And why is it so? It is just because of the dam. You can see it. In the right corner of the picture, and it is big dam, and it was built 70 years ago, almost 70 years ago. Just the whole Narva River was blocked with dam, and big reservoir, Narva Reservoir, was created as a result of that. And you can see Narva town there on the map, and big reservoir. And what was it made for? It was made for hydro energy production. And you can see, and now you can see where we are. Yesterday we were sitting here. Natural riverbed is here. You can hardly see it. Because it's dry, and all the water of the river, all that 400 cubic meters per second as medium, is taken to the hydropower plant. You can see picture of the hydropower plant, and what is special about that hydropower plant is that as Narva River is a border river between Estonia and Russia, so the hydropower plant is on Russian side, so it belongs to Russia. It is producing money for Russian company, and what Estonia gets nothing from there, just gets dry river section, and that river section is not just the one section of the river, around 1 kilometer long, but it is the only place in Narva River, big river, but the only section of Narva River where some fish species, salmon for instance, can spawn. So due to that dam, we lost natural salmon population in Narva River, and a lot of other fish species suffer too. Today we have a lot of, let's say, abundant population of river lamprey still in the river. It could be much bigger and more abundant, but we still have around, you can see it is one thing, it is very beautiful fish, but on the other hand it is also valuable fish. So the catches are some years 50 tons of river lamprey in Narva River. So that was for start the closest dam, but the biggest dam. And when we are talking about dams and problems, actually when we are looking at that problems from ecosystem perspective, we can always, in every dam case, we can talk about conflict. It can be bigger or smaller the conflict, but today's approach to the riverine ecosystem is very easy to understand. River is in good status when it is as it should be naturally. So every man-made dam changes that situation to the worst and to the worst direction, and so in every single case when we are talking about man-made dam, we are talking about conflict. It can be smaller or bigger, but it is there. Just to continue, and sorry, local people probably know that, but it is meant for international audience too. So the second biggest, when we started with bigger dams, the second biggest dam was in Estonia on Pärnu River, the third biggest river in Estonia, and you can see the dam on that river. It was blocking migrations of fish. To the Pärnu River, there are around 40 fish species, and the dam was situated 15 kilometers from river mouth. So every migratory fish which entered the river from the sea for swimming to spawn, they were blocked. The migratory migrations were blocked on 15th kilometer of river. So 90% of spawning grounds for migratory fish on Pärnu River system were just blocked, and it is intolerable. And when we are not able to do much on Narva dam because it is under control of our good and bad, and sometimes good, sometimes bad neighbors, which is now in war against Ukraine and killing people there. So we cannot discuss much about Narva dam with Russia now. After they lose the war, we can come back to that issue. But on Pärnu River, which is in Estonia, we were able to do something, and what we managed to do is what you can see on this picture. We just removed the dam and made rapid instead. So now the river is opened, and that was not on that river, Pärnu River. The Sindi Dam was not the only migration obstacle. There were more, but they are almost all now opened, and the fish can go, and it really is going upstream everywhere. It is around 3,000 kilometers of running waters, smaller and bigger ones, and fish are already by now, we can say, everywhere. But more general picture about Estonian dams after these two examples. For international audience, Estonia is quite small. I think it is 10 times less than Sweden, for instance. And we have still quite many kilometers of running waters. It is calculated around 90,000 kilometers of running waters, and 1/3 of them are natural. Other are ditches and man-made ones. And one important thing to keep in mind is that we have rains, not very much, let's say medium, I would say, amounts of rains every year, but the effluence or the amount of water what is carried away with rivers is around 30 centimeters. So we have some water in our rivers, but not much. And one thing more is to consider is that Estonia is quite flat country. Our highest mountain is a little more than 300 meters high. Ridiculous, some people would say. And thinking about Estonian dams, very often when people think and tell about dams, the first idea of people is that it is for dams are very important for energy programs of countries, and it is true, and sometimes it is true, and sometimes it is, let's say, not that direct. I just show you the figure I found about hydropower, let's say, potential of different countries. When we go and talk to people from Norway, for instance, or even from Sweden, and where there are mountains and there are, let's say, big enough rains, for them in these countries, hydropower really is something, and it is a key and solution for energy programs. But in Estonia, you can see in the end of that list, together with Denmark, we can exploit all our rivers and still get nearly nothing for our overall energy consumption. That is very important thing to keep in mind, that when we are talking about dams, it is not any solution for our energy programs, for our energy security. It is little thing. And in Estonia, we had some inventory of dams, and it is the result was that nobody probably checked every single dam, but we can say that we have had in Estonia around 1,300 man-made dams. Plus, and it is important, we have a lot of beaver dams, but man-made dams and beaver dams, they are totally different things and different stories. So we got good overview of our dams. Around 1,000 dams were really checked, described, and then prioritized in the sense that what should be paid attention and what dams needed actions. And for every dam there were solutions suggested, what to do, how to do, what is priority class of the dam, and so on. And what became clear, and it was not big surprise, that in that long list of dams, the let's say trickiest to deal with were hydropower plant dams, and it is very logical. One thing what makes hydropower dams even more tricky and special is that when we talk about other dams, we mostly talk about problems with upstream migration, but in hydropower plants it can be serious downstream migration problems. You can see here on the picture the effect of turbines to downstream migrating fishes in one hydropower plant. And yeah, we have over 1,000 dams. They can be different. They can be partly they can be total obstacles, and they can be, let's say, some of them can be passed by fishes in good conditions, but in cases like this, there is no way to go up. And sometimes you can find migratory obstacles even in places where you cannot expect, because this is also a little dam, you can call it, because it is damming the water level behind it, and this is problem for fish migrations, which for fish species which cannot jump, and it is really, for river lamprey, for instance, it is 100% effective. No lamprey can migrate through that obstacle. Looks like small one, but big one actually. And then we have a lot of beaver dams. Beaver got extinct 100 years ago, and it was away for a long time, and then it came back. Everybody was really happy, and now we have more than 20,000 beavers in Estonia, and they are but they are part of nature, so it is not man-made, and we cannot go and tell beavers what to do. And there is a problem that people construct dams on bigger rivers, and beavers go to small rivers. So we have, for fish point of view, we have a lot of migratory obstacles in our water bodies. And we have around 40 species, and part of them are so-called migratory fish species. It is easy to understand. They come from sea and go to river for spawning, or go to the sea for spawning, like one species. And then it is easy to understand, if we block the river, Pärnu River, for instance, migratory fish cannot go for spawning grounds. But the problem is even bigger, because many riverine species and let's say freshwater species, they also need to migrate. They need to migrate to spawning grounds, then they need to go for feeding areas, and then they need to go for wintering areas, and it is really important in, let's say, inland rivers to think about that. Yeah, Potamodromus, they are called these migrations in freshwaters. And yeah, some fish pictures, because when we are talking about dams and fishways or removal of dams, then when we go to public and tell about problems on the rivers, we always talk about fish, because Estonians like fish very much and care about fish, and we have, it is even in some official database, we have some 300,000 recreational fishermen in Estonia, and it is 25% of our population. So, and this is eel, and this is asp, for instance, in Estonian Tõuges. It is in freshwater systems here, but still needs to do quite long migrations, because they need to go to the rapids. Estonia is flat country, limited number of rapids, and they need to make long migrations. But good news is that that we are dealing with our dams. Estonia is, you remember yesterday Thomas told that in Lithuania there was, I think, nine actions taken. And I recently read some news from Latvia that we did our first dam removal in Latvia. But Estonia has been really good in dealing with dams. So, and when I had got the invitation to come and talk, I always need to, before going somewhere and telling about dams, I always need to talk to people who are, let's say, who know better the situation. So I've, of course, called Tanel, he knows. Then Elina is one you must always call when go and talk, and then Sander Sandberg from State Forestry Board or agency. They know the current situation the best, so I called them, and because we are really dealing with the problem, and the figures are changing all the time, getting bigger and bigger. So compared to Latvia and Lithuania, several against 150. 55 dams removed, 93 fishways created. When we started that removal of dams, we just did what we could do. There was not very big prioritization, but today the focus is on so-called priority rivers, and yeah, we are focused on priority rivers today. So all these actions what are going on in Estonia now, they are in well-chosen places, and one thing what yesterday was discussed, it was about communication, and during this process we have learned that it is very important to communicate with local landowners. Then it gets possible to do something. If they are strongly against, it is hard to go on. And other thing what is really important, yesterday it was with journalists, a topic that, and they didn't say it directly that way, it is work with public opinion. If public opinion is against, let's say, is for the dam removal or fishways creation, it reaches the politicians, and that is how it works well. And I show you some pictures of different fishways, and yeah, and you can see the first ones were quite effective. This one and this one, they are not so functional, and we are doing removal and fishway constructions, and of course this is big thing, and we need to see what is the effect of our actions, and it is followed with monitoring, quite nice, good scientific level monitoring, and we can, and it, yeah, effectiveness of these actions is checked carefully, and we can say that in almost every case the actions have helped a lot. There were some things, when you do something, when you start some new thing, you need to learn, and the case was in Estonia too, that we started with little knowledge. Now we are doing much better, and and what we saw really, it was that it is getting better after every action. So there are different funding ways of the most important fund has been cohesional fund, which is used in Estonia for river ecology and other funds. Right now there are some life projects going on, CleanEST here, then there is Tambets, which is dealing with dam removal, and there are, let's say, connected to the topic projects which are dealing with giving start for fish populations after the migratory obstacles are gone. And one thing what we have seen is that the most effective solution is just dam removal, no doubt. But it is not possible sometimes. Then the second best is to make a ramp or rapid in the riverbed. Then there is a natural like bypass which comes and fish ladder. These concrete ones are the worst, let's say, weakest solution in Estonian conditions. And one important thing, yesterday Karin, head of water department, told that yes, we have invested and we cannot see positive changes in the river, but actually what we saw monitoring the effectiveness of is that there are positive changes. Just monitoring system doesn't show it. You remove the dam and then everything gets better for ecosystem, but for fish case, for instance, it just takes time. So there is a big change already happening, but you just cannot see it. It must be somehow included into monitoring system that monitoring should reflect that now the situation is better, but it's long story. And this is in Estonian. Thank you.
Thank you, Meelis. And as we have a discussion coming later up, then we won't take questions now, and we move directly forward with Karin Olsson from Sweden, who will tell us about Swedish dams, and specifically some dams that they deal with in the Life Connects project. So please, Karin.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now we can. Now we can. So.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone. I'm Karin Olsson, and I'm a project leader for the Life Connects project. And I work at the County Administrative Board in Skåne. It's the southernmost county in Sweden. And but I will first tell you a little bit about or give you an overview of the dams in Sweden, a very short one, and then I will go into how we work with the dams in the project. So, to start with, why do we have all these dams? I think we have to go back in history to look at the purpose of all the dams and why we have them, because it's important to understand the purpose of the dams and how we can manage them. In Sweden, historically we have had this timber rafting, that you transported the timber from the forest up in the mountain area down to the sea, and you used the rivers. And to do that, you cleared the rivers and you also made some dams because you wanted to be able to control the timber going down streams. Of course, there have been a lot of mills, just sawmills, graining mills and so on. And fishing has been a big part in Sweden as well, not only in Estonia, and recreation. But later they became important for irrigation of agricultural land and hydropower. So many of these small mills that used to be sawmills and graining mills today are small hydropower plants. So we have a lot of dams having different purposes. And if you look on the map, you can see the dams in Sweden. Sweden is, as we heard, 10 times bigger than Estonia, and we have a lot of dams. We have over 2,000 hydropower dams, and then we have a lot of regulatory dams connected to the hydropower plants, and also at least 5,000 other dams with other purposes, like water to industry and so on. But also we have barriers that necessarily don't give a damming area, but they are still a barrier for fish migration and transport of sediments and so on. And that we have a lot of as well. So we have a lot of work to do. And for the hydropower plants, we in Sweden have a national plan. So all hydropower companies need to renew their permits, so they get the modern permit. And the new permit will say that they have to have fish migration pathways both up and downstreams. But we have a lot of dams that are not into this national plan. So we work mostly in our projects with these dams that are not hydropower. Sorry. But why do we work with it? Not only for the nature, but even if that should be the most important one. But we have the Water Framework Directive, we have the Habitats Directive, the EU Biodiversity Strategy. We have a lot of national goals, and I assume that you have the same in Estonia that we want to achieve. So just if you look at the map, you can see one of the catchment areas that are in the project. You can see the connectivity status for the Water Framework Directive is not very well, and all the small dots are barriers. The red ones are definite barriers. The yellow one are passable for migratory strong swimmers like salmonids, but not for sea lamprey, for example. And the green ones are the ones that are passable today. Many of them is smaller barriers that we have removed. So I think we work with this because of a lot of different directives and strategies and goals that we have, both international and national. But then to the project, the Life Connects project. We work in the southern parts of Sweden in 7 rivers, and the one that you saw the connectivity for is number 1, and it's in my county. We are 7 partners. It's 1 national authority and 2 of these county boards, 1 municipality, 1 university, 1 NGO, it's the Swedish Angler Association, and also 1 hydropower company. And that's quite unusual that we have a hydropower company working together in a project with an NGO like the sports fishing organizations. But I would say that is really key to get really good discussions and start to build up an understanding between different sectors and different interests. We started in 2019 and will go on until 2026. The budget is a little bit less than 10 million euros. And of course, the aim is to restore rivers to improve the conservation status for habitats and species, as well as the goals for the Water Framework Directive and Biodiversity Strategy. And we work mostly with the dams and road culverts, and I will show you a little bit of that now. But in the life projects, you usually have to focus on specific habitats or species. And in this project, we have the target species of Atlantic salmon and the threatened mussel species, the freshwater pearl mussel and thick-shelled river mussel, because these two are two of the most endangered mussel species in Sweden, and we now have them in just some of the rivers. But of course, when we do the measures, it will affect and improve the status of other species as well, especially the European eel, the otter, but also the host fishes for the two mussel species, because when we work with mussels, you have to work with the host fish species as well. And for freshwater pearl mussel, it's brown trout and Atlantic salmon. And for the thick-shelled river mussel, it can be quite many different species, but most common is the European bullhead and the common minnow. But of course, both animals and plants and the total biodiversity will benefit from the project. I will now show you a small video of one of the larger dams we have removed, and I hope this will work. Yes. This is one of the hydropower company's plants in Mörrumsån. It was removed in 2020, and the text is in Swedish, but I assume that you understand the picture in a way. And it's now totally open, and it opened it up around 85 kilometers of free-flowing river, because this was the first big barrier from the river mouth. So today it's open, and you could see salmon is going up immediately to their spawning and nursery areas upstream. But we also remove smaller barriers that are not in use anymore. You can see some examples here in the upper pictures you have before, and the lower pictures are after we have removed. But often we also have to do more than just remove the obstacle, because most often the river is affected in many ways, not only with barriers. They have been cleared from larger boulders and stones or ditched in some ways. And I will come back to that. But sometimes you can't remove a barrier. For example, when you have a hydropower plant that generates a lot of energy. In Sweden, hydropower is really an issue. Around 50% of all the electricity we use comes from hydropower plants. So they are really important. And sometimes you can't remove them, and you can't build a natural bypass because it's buildings around, it's very narrow. You don't have the place for doing a bypass. So we have actually tried a new method. This is a double Archimedes screw that was installed in one of Uniper's hydropower plants this summer. So it's have just been installed. And the interesting part was the day after the installation, one brown trout was detected going downstream. So it seems to work. But to really know if this will work, we are monitoring it really much. We have 3 fish counters installed upstream, downstream from the screw, and we have also a lot of telemetry studies will be done, other electrofishing upstream, downstreams, and so on. So this is the first one installed in Sweden, so this will be monitored a lot to see if it works well, because then this could be an alternative when you have problems building natural like fish passages. But as I said, most often a river in Sweden looks like this, and well, you could say it looks quite nice, but I will hopefully the video works here as well. I don't know how I did to get it working. No, because many people think this looks like a really nice river, but often you don't know what it looked like before. And I would say when you see the difference, this is when we have restored it, then you start to realize, well, this is more what a river looked like. You have this complexity. It's not this with a lot of different type of habitats and so on. And these areas are really important for the mussel species and for the fish species that spawn in these areas. So for the life cycle of for example, the freshwater pearl mussel, these areas are really important that we restore. So it doesn't help if we just remove the dam, because then the host fish go up, but they don't have any spawning or nursery areas, so they just pass by, for example, the remnants of the mussel populations. So you need to do both the removal of the barrier and the restoration of the habitats. Otherwise, I think we will lose a lot of effects of the removal of barriers. But just to talk a little bit of the problems you can meet when trying to do a dam removal. This is one of the another hydropower plant that will be removed in the project, but we are still in the permit process, and the permit process has been going on for at least 2 years now, because we have a problem. It's a huge dam, a huge water reservoir that have been built up through around 50 years, as long as the hydropower plant has been there. And you have paper mills and other industries upstream. So all the sediments that have been transferred downstream and stopped at the dam are contaminated. And when you will remove this dam, you will have contaminated sediments going downstream and out to the sea. So how do you do to minimize the effect of this? Because we have also realized that we have an internal phosphorus load in the sediments. And in Skåne, where this place are, we already have a huge problem with eutrophication. So we don't want to release even more phosphorus downstream. And also when you remove the dam, you will have a lot of turbidity. So you will increase the turbidity, and that will affect species downstream for a short while at least. So how do you deal with all these problems that are in a dam that has been there for quite a while when you have industry and so on upstreams? Here you have to find a solution to lower the dam really slowly so the sediment stays in the area and you can take care of it. Another thing is the public opinion. When we started to discuss this hydropower plant and the removal of this. It was like 10 years ago. And then we had a lot of energy. The energy price was really low. So then everyone thought this is a really good idea. It looks really good afterwards to have this river back, and people can walk there. We get back the fishery and so on. But now when the energy price has gone up and are really expensive, the public opinion are starting to shifting. Why would we take away a hydropower plant now when we need more energy? So this is something we need to keep in mind, that the public opinion can change. In many places, we also have to take care about the cultural heritage. So we can't just remove everything without being cautious and see, can we preserve some cultural heritage? But also, in this case, we have permit for water outtake for the agriculture and cattle and so on, and also a paper mill upstreams that will be affected when we take away the dam. So you have to consider that as well and come up with solutions for them, because they have a permit to take water from the river. So at least I want to talk about some experience from the project and some questions that we can have when we discuss in the workshop, or you discuss in the workshop, is when you are doing larger dam removals, they can be very time consuming, and I would say in Sweden we have this national plan for the hydropower plants, and they have calculated it will take 20 years. And all of you can see that, well, 20 years, then we will not achieve the goals for the Water Framework Directive until 2027, or the biodiversity strategy to 2030. And I would say, well, we will not achieve the goals to that time because all these processes are very time consuming. And since we have more than almost 10,000 dams to tackle, we will not be able to achieve the goals. But what would we try to reach? Because I think it's not good to just say, well, we didn't reach the goal. So what would we aim for instead? Also, a lot of investigations. For example, when we had this problem with the sediments, they are also very time consuming and very costly, I would say. To deal with sediments cost a lot of money. So in the Water Framework Directive and the directives, they always talk about that we should do cost-effective measures. So will we achieve that? Or how much money can a dam removal cost? Can they cost how much before we say this is too much? So everything costs money, we know that, but are we willing to pay? How much are we willing to pay for a dam removal? I think that's something we have to think about. And also this, that the public opinion can change. How can we prepare for that change? Because when the public opinion change, a lot of politicians also start to change their view. This has happened in Sweden. Today, a lot of politicians are against dam removals, even though we have this national plan that they have once said we should have. So how can we prepare for that? How can we argue that we need to go on even though we now have increased prices of energy. Also, conflicting legislations and interests can be very complicated when we will do dam removals, because we have this Water Framework Directive and the connectivity that says that we should do a removal of dams. But we also have the Conservation Action Program. And for example, in Sweden, we have a national goal for agriculture that should improve, it should increase, and we should improve the export of agriculture. So how can we harmonize between these? How do we weigh them to each other? I think that's also something that's important to discuss and keep in mind when we are doing dam removals, that there are a lot of different interests that we have to tackle. And this, I don't know, we don't have any from Sinea or so with us, but I think the link from EU to national level and down to the regional and local level also can be a problem sometimes. So how do we get the legislation and strategies on EU level to be feasible on the local level? Because sometimes it's like, well, the legislation, the EU legislation or the national legislation say that we should do this, but we can't do that in this place because it's not possible. So I think that also can be something to bear in mind when we discuss how to get more dam removals in Europe. And that was all for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Karin, for the very insightful presentation and all these questions that you raised that we can discuss later. But has anyone got a quick question about the presentation directly? Yeah. Microphone.
I have a question. How did you reach an agreement with the hydroelectric company to remove their business? How was it was reached? Yes, thank you.
I would say it's because of this national plan we have in Sweden that all hydropower plants have to renew their permit. Because Uniper, it's a global company, it's really big, and they realized that this one that was removed was the closest to the river mouth. And if they take that away, the two that are upstreams, not so near the river mouth, don't have to do as much. So I think they realized that they have to do their part of the work as well. And at this place, it would cost quite a lot to build a natural fish passage. So they realized, well, it's better to be part of a life project, because then they can get 60% of the cost paid from EU and remove it. And they work quite a lot. Since this national plan in Sweden, almost all the hydropower companies work a lot to look over all their hydropower plants to see which will be very costly, which are close to the river mouth and have very high values for nature, these areas. So which can they take away, and then they can improve others. So I would say they have discussed a lot between themselves as well, and see what can we do. We have to do our part. because we have to renew all our permits. So it started a discussion, and I would say they have also employed a lot of people that know a lot about ecology and so on, to be able to reach these new goals of this new permit process.
That this could work, it works.
One more question.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I'll just comment that it probably works in a case when there is a big company that has very several hydropower plants, so they can decide that they can give up some and leave the others. But if there was just a company with just the one dam only there, then it would be more problematic.
No, that's one interesting thing, because when this national plan was placed, the hydropower companies realized it will cost a lot of money to renew all the permits. And for the smaller ones, it might be like, well, it will cost so much that I can't carry on because I will not be able to do the measures that will be needed to get the new permit. And then the 8 biggest companies in Sweden, hydropower companies, Uniper, Fortum, E.ON, they actually went together and started a fund. So it's the hydropower fund in Sweden. So all the smaller companies can apply for funding from this fund and get 85% of the cost covered by the fund. So they only have to put in 15% by themselves. So I would say of the 2,000 hydropower plants we have in Sweden, most of them will go on, even though it will be costly to do a lot of measures that they have to do.
Okay. We have another question?
Thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. So I have a question about the cultural heritage. How do you consider the cultural heritage value, and how often you have to remove the dams which are valuable from a cultural heritage point of view? And one more thing, what was the name of the power plant you installed the Archimedes screw? Could you please tell this one as well?
Yeah, the place where the screw has been installed is Finnsjö. It's not an easy, in Emån. So it's number 5, I think, on the map. So it's a little bit further up, not in my county, another country. So Finnsjö is the name of the place. The cultural heritage, we have worked a lot, since I work at the county administrative board of Skåne, the county of Skåne. In the administrative board, we have a section working with cultural heritage. So when we want to remove a small old dam at the old mill, for example, we discuss with our colleagues from the cultural heritage sector to see what is the biggest values here. What can we take away? What should we preserve? And they have also done really good work being out doing inventories of the different old mills and different old barriers, and have come up with a method to value different parts of these objects to see, well, this is really high cultural value. This is less cultural value. So they have a scale of 5, I think. So they have been out doing inventories and scale and put values on all the objects. So when we sit and discuss, we already know, well, this is a really high cultural value. Here we might do less because of the cultural value. And then another place there are less cultural value, there we can say, well, then we remove it. Because we can't keep all cultural heritage everywhere. It wouldn't be feasible. But we have these very good discussions.
Okay, so the key is constant compromise making. So people
And
from
dialogue
different
and
sectors, yeah,
discussion.
dialogue, and give up some of their like dams, and from the fish perspective, and also from the cultural heritage perspective and the hydropower perspective. Okay, now we move on to our next presenter, who is Fernández Garrido from the Dam Removal Europe, who will talk about general from dam removal in the context of Europe. So please.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you start my presentation? I don't see it right now in the screen. Oh, there. Thank you so much. Well, I am going to try in only 15 minutes to give you an overview of what's happening in Europe. Who is removing dams, since when, and why? So back in 2019, Europeans only knew that we have around 7,000 big dams. That's all you could find even in the European Environmental Agency. But thanks to a project called AMBER, thanks to another 20 partners, we discovered that we have at least 1.2 million barriers in Europe, in 36 countries. And we collected during 4 years, up to 629,000 barriers. But we went to the field and did a field validation, and we discovered that most of these inventories were very incomplete. So scientists did a very good estimation, and that's why we came up with that number, 1.2 million. And we started this project in 2016. At the same time starting this project, we started Dam Removal Europe, which is a movement of people who is already working on removing barriers in Europe. And what we try to do is support them, facilitate them information, highlight their work, and show that this is positive, because until now, and especially a few years ago, it was like a taboo talking about dam removal. It was something negative, more in some countries more than others, but basically in all Europe except Finland, which is a very special case. So we discovered in 2016, when we started, that at least we had removed over 4,000 barriers. 4,000. In some countries had started almost 30 years ago removing barriers, like France, Denmark, or Spain. And why? What are the main reasons of these countries, these governments are removing these barriers? Well, first of all, in some countries is national legislation. For example, in Spain or Austria, in Spain we have a very clear legislation where it says that any infrastructure in public domain, and rivers are public, when the owner of the dam, of the infrastructure, ends its use, using it, exploiting it, or the owner asks for a relicense and the administration does not give a relicense of the dam, then the owner, it's mandatory that the owner removes that dam. Same in Austria. But also we started having, as you know, a very good European legislation, which is the Water Framework Directive in 2000. But as you know, in the Water Framework Directive, it does not specifically say it is important, or it's very beneficial to remove dams. It doesn't say it anywhere. But many river managers in the national and regional administration in some countries knew that by removing obsolete and useless dams and weirs, they would be able to improve the ecological status of their water masses. They knew this. So some countries, like for example, France, who started, France is the leading country on dam removal, and they started it in the 90s to remove dams. Thanks to the water framework directive, they started to really speed and scale up and started to remove this tool. The water framework directive was the perfect tool for them to really enable them to remove more dams. And the main reasons in France, for example, is water quality. In these two examples, the before and this example, to improve water quality is one of the main reasons they remove dams. Also safety and also fish passage and increasing biodiversity. But for example, this is in France also, this is the biggest dam. It's a very special case. It's the biggest dam ever removed in La Sélune River in Normandy, France. And this dam, which was 36 meters high, was removed in 2019. And people was not allowed to bathe in the reservoir because of every summer they would have green algae, toxic algae booming. But it was not only because of water quality. They also removed this dam because of economic reasons. Building a fishway with a new national policy, they needed to build or facilitate fish passage, because this dam and another one downstream, 10 kilometers downstream, which was 60 meters high, it completely blocked the whole entire river basin. And building fish passage was too expensive, and the energy produced by this dam, which was a century old, the energy produced, was going to be covered by 3 windmills. So new technology also helps sometimes to create energy by other sources. And this is how it looks right above the dam in the old reservoir. There was no planting. There was no seeding. This is all natural bank seed from the bank seed. Also, another reason is safety. And actually, this is the main reason why the United States started removing dams in the 80s, because in the 70s, there were several dam collapses. And so they created the Dam Safety Program, which is one of the most strict and complete dam safety programs in a country. And they started to obligate to dam owners to maintain their dams, to go through inspections every year or every 2 years or every 3 years, depending on the risk of the type of dam. But it's not only about dam collapses. For example, just the fact of having a dam that is 2-3 meters high, abandoned in the river with no checking, with not people being there checking for safety for people who uses the river users. They can be what they call in the United States drowning machines. They suck people down to the bottom of the river. And this is something that is pretty well documented in the States. We are trying, from Dam Removal Europe, we are trying to actually identify and locate and find these drowning machines in Europe. But there are other reasons on safety, because there are some small dams that also exacerbate flooding, and they increase flooding in some villages, or other type of safety problems, like this case in Spain. This dam, which has been the highest dam removed in Spain in 2014. This was a 22-meter high dam, and the bottom gate of the dam broke in 2013. So the dam was completely full of sediment, and sediments were toxic and contaminated, basically with cattle because of farming upstream. And then all the sediment started to flush down, and downstream you could find the biggest reservoir in Madrid, because this is in Madrid province, the biggest reservoir which provides with water to the capital in Madrid. So the Tajo River Basin Authority had to really act very fast and did an emergency removal but in about less than a year, to remove this huge dam. And now they don't have any safety problems. They don't have any water quality problems. The water quality is fantastic now after decades. So if you talk with people in the government, their message, it's very clear. For example, Finland, they clearly tell you from the government that dam removal is the best option to recover connectivity. And for example, Ignacio Rodriguez Muñoz from the Duero Basin Authority in Spain, which is the most active authority removing dams in Spain. This is an interview you can find in the Spanish International TV channel, where he clearly states that there isn't a bigger benefit with a lower cost. Dam removal is their best option when possible. But also, if you try to find more information about economic benefits, you can find that in Massachusetts, for example, the government of Massachusetts, they did a 3-year and 3 annual analysis on the economic benefits on river restoration, dam removal in this state. And the conclusion of each annual analysis was that restoration projects generate equal to greater economic benefits than any other type of projects like road and bridge construction. So I think it's very important that we break the society mental barriers, because it's not wasting the money removing dams at all. They also generate economic benefits. But it's not only another reason why dams and weirs are being removed, especially the obsolete ones, is because of trying to recover our river productivity. Europeans have forgotten, especially in the Mediterranean countries, I have to say, we have completely forgotten how productive our rivers were. For example, in Spain, the most consumed fish from locals, except people living in the coastlines, was eel, lamprey, and that's completely gone. I mean, we have absolutely wiped out inland fisheries. In these 50 past years, 93% of the migratory fish population in Europe have declined. And we have completely destroyed jobs, because we used to have a lot of jobs and with commercial fisheries in inland fisheries, fluvial river fisheries, completely free, self-sustainable. We didn't need to build any hatcheries or anything. And this is actually another reason why some countries like Scotland, they are trying to recover, for example, their wild salmon stocks, because it's almost gone, wild salmon, and they want to recover these fisheries, not only because of as a food source, but also to activate rural economy. Same with Denmark. Denmark started removing, it was one of the first countries to start removing small barriers and abandon from watermills to recover their wild salmon and trout population. And you can see they have been doing an amazing monitoring studies, and you can see in these graphics clearly before and after numbers of the wild population after the removals. So it's tremendously effective. And for example, Finland, just very quickly, I would like to highlight this project. This is a project in Hiidenjoki River. You must have heard about it in Finland, where they had 3 hydropower dams, very old. Their economic benefit was very little. They created very little energy, and they decided it was worth to remove these dams because building fishways was too expensive comparing with the benefits that they got. And after removing these 3 active but old hydropower dams, the river is completely free now from barriers. Actually, the last one was removed only a month ago. And the landlocked salmon that they hadn't seen for 1 century, it's coming back right after the removal. So they want, one of their main goals is to recover their native and endemic landlocked salmon. So what is the status now in Europe? Well, basically, there are 7 countries that are very active in removing dams and weirs, and they have really very clear administrative process to enable dam removal. And I would like to actually highlight the case of Estonia. The case of Estonia is a very special one because, and actually, I think that's why one of the reasons why the Euronews TV channel, actually, I know that they went a few weeks ago to Estonia to interview the Estonian case, because it's very special. They have a specific person in the government, in the ministry, to scale up and speed up the process and to facilitate that dam removal process in the country. That only happens in Estonia and Lithuania, and it's something that really blew my mind when I found out, and it's a fantastic example that we are trying to share with other countries, because it's something that it shows how serious Estonian government is taking the issue and how they want to improve. It's really amazing. So the good news is that even though not all European countries are removing at this moment barriers, and they don't have legislation or administrative process in their country, the good news is that there are being more and more funding opportunities. There are being more funding opportunities created to enable barrier removals, because in some countries, like France, for example, the government, the regional government have grants which can cover up to 80% of the cost. And for example, in Scotland, the Scottish Environmental and Protection Agency, they have a specific grant called WEP, Water Environmental Fund, WEP, that also helps with these kind of projects and other river restoration projects. But most of the countries do not have this financial support, like Spain or like Italy or Portugal. So there are more and more funding opportunities being created to help. So this is pretty much an overview. I hope you have time to ask me any questions. Thank you so much.
Do we have any questions on the presentation? If no, then we'll have a 5-minute break here. We'll rearrange where we sit. Please don't go anywhere far, and then we'll continue with the discussion. So everyone online, stay also here where you are.
Me võime äkki ikkagi 10 anda. Hello everyone, from my side also. My name is Agne Aruveli. I'm working in Ministry of Climate Water Department, and I'm responsible of dam legislation in Water Act. Today my job is to lead this discussion. Our goal is to have a friendly discussion, how to find solutions that satisfy the different interests, different stakeholder interests, while we're trying to restore the migration routes. I hope you will think along and speak really about your thoughts and concerns. Since there are not so many of us here today, I propose to do a short introduction round. Please state your name and say how you're related to this issue and or which stakeholder group you're representing. And maybe we will start in online, who you are and how you're related to this subject. Nad kuulevad. Mis selle rootsi nimi oli? Karin, maybe you will start.
Yeah, well, you have just heard my presentation, most of you, I hope. Karin Olsson from the county administrative board of Skåne in Sweden. And I'm the project leader of a LIFE project called LIFE Connects.
I continue. My name is Marieta Šimara-Dusreis. I am from Slovenia, from the Slovenian Ministry for Natural Resources and Special Planning. I have to apologize because I missed half of the presentations because of the hour change. I forgot to calculate. I work on the Integrated Life project for Natura 2000, and I'm actually here just to listen how you deal with dams, because in our project we only deal with very small barrier removals, not with large dams. But I have to say that in our country we are still in the opposite direction. We still think of constructing new dams instead of removing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now here.
My name is Julia Levsk. I'm from Estonian Environmental Research Center, and I was involved last year in making this overview about heavily modified urban areas. So there I was touched with this dam problems. Do you leave them, destroy them, what to do with them? That's why I'm here, for my own interest. So I'm not so much stakeholder, but I'm not a stakeholder here.
See töötab.
It's okay, but if I have to take some role here, I would like to be this old lady from local municipality, living there, local old lady who is against everything.
So hello, I'm Maili Roio from National Heritage Board, and I am an archaeologist, and I am an advisor on underwater archaeology, and also I am a member of the LIFE CleanEST project steering committee.
My name is Garrido, and I'm from Estonian National Heritage Board. I'm a head of a protection management of built heritage. So the dams, which are of cultural value, cultural heritage value in Estonia, they are on my table, and I'm dealing with these issues.
My name is Jürgen Karvak. I'm a junior researcher in University of Tartu, and my field is riverine and riparian ecology, and I also represent Estonian Fund for Nature, where I am dealing mostly with small rivers and also dams and local communities.
Hello, my name is Liivia Mahlapuu. Now here in this group I represent on small NGO, Jakala Kalateed, who is stay for river freedom, and nowadays we focusing on a very important case in Jakala River. We want that one hydropower plant stopped working.
Hello, my name is Tanel Ader. I'm from Ministry of Regional Affairs, and I am from Fisheries Department. I do work to affiliate dam removal and restoration of spawning grounds in our rivers.
Hello again, I am Meelis Tambets, and I am from NGO Wildlife Estonia, and we have been dealing with dam issues for 20 years in Estonia, and it seems it never ends. And about us and the CleanEST, our company NGO was the one who wrote that was responsible for writing CleanEST proposal to LIFE funding.
Hello everyone, my name is Mart Ahvelt and I'm working in this project Life CleanEST as we are conducting ecology studies. We are responsible for concrete actions on dam removals and habitat restorations in environmental agency.
Minu nimi Jaan Cernant, MTÜ Veskivaramus, koondame umbes 40 paisu ja õiged ja kaalutletud lahendused lähevad meile korda. Äkki sa tõlgid üles?
Yeah, for you. Jaan Cernant is representing hydropower section in Estonia and it's called Veskivaramu. Unites 40 members in that area. And yeah, and we have, let's say, quite good cooperation on one of his power plants on one of project main rivers in Sillauru.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Martin Liiv. I'm from Estonian Fish and Crayfish Association. Also a fish farmer. I am managing 2 farms that have dams, and here for discussion and dialogue, and hope to at least start the dialogue finally.
Hello, my name is Annabel and I'm from Environment Agency in Estonia, and we are removing dams in this CleanEST project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you feel that you don't want to speak in English, it's fine. We are trying to translate your opinions and concerns and thoughts. And if you online want to speak when we are asking the questions, please give some notes that you don't want to speak, and then we are listening to you. Please show us the first question. The purpose of the first question was to simply start over today and discuss and bring into your consciousness what these different interests and issues are. But as we already mentioned some problems in presentations, maybe we should just should discuss, do we have some problems what we didn't mention and what we should definitely mention today here also? Or we could go to the next question. Please.
Yes, so I had this thought that maybe quite often we are focused too much on the fish. Fish is, we all know fish, and it's maybe most easy taxonomic group to see the problems because fish are big and we can see them jumping. But the dams are impacting so much more of the entire ecosystems. So maybe, and I have heard also from the locals that quite often their concern is like that we are preserving some fish species or protecting some fish species if we are removing dams, but there is a community in the reservoir and we are not like protecting them, but actually we are removing them for the whole ecosystem functioning, not only for the fish. The fish is an important part, but not only the fish.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is one of my questions as well, that when we have had in Estonia, we have the first written sources about dams is from the 13th century. So it's a long time, which means that it has created their own ecosystem, which has been here for almost 1,000 years. So if we remove all the dams, so for me it's the question that maybe we are ruining some ecosystems which have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years.
maybe I can comment shortly, and I don't know, maybe Meelis also wants, but the dams that were created like, what is it, like 700 or 800 years ago then? Yeah. So these dams were a bit different than nowadays dams. They were not always like all the year up, or how do I say? And they were smaller, and during some part of the year they were flowing freely. And if most of the hydro dams or big dams now, they were renovated in the middle of last century. So quite often it's not a long-standing community in a biological view.
We have the dams which have been standing dams for 100+ years, we know of. So they are not only from the middle of the 20th century. They are the end of 19th century, the water mills were already there, which were these dams which didn't open anymore. And we have for example from these written sources, we have from the 17th century near here on Kunda River we have one complaint that this was the place where they had this system of opening the dams, but there was a court case we know of that the owner didn't open the dams. So it is not that simple that they were all opened every yearly. It's more complicated.
Okay.
Yes, ecosystems, they are quite tricky things to understand fully, but and so is the cultural heritage. But still, I can confirm that for ecosystems, what we are doing now on the rivers, making them better, and there is no doubt about that. And Jürgen's comment on that, we have nice fish communities in reservoirs. It is also not that easy to understand, maybe, but there is unnatural. That is a strange community created in that we have over thousands of lakes in Estonia where we have a lot of roach and perches. So, but talking about ecosystems, real natural ecosystems, we need the fish which belongs there. It is not that we replace grayling or trout with roach and everything is okay. So that is one thing to keep in mind.
Okay. Fun.
Yeah, thanks. We're conducting a survey this year. It has been going on for 2 years now, and the survey is taking under consideration the negative effects of the lake. And with this survey, we are now realizing that the lakes raise the water temperature on average about 2 degrees, in some cases even more, which can be devastating to the rest of the river. So the new information that comes in with the development of data, with the development of information gathering and our expertise. So 100 years ago, there was none of that. Now that we do have this kind of expertise, this kind of new info coming in, then we should act accordingly. So if there is information that water temperatures are going to be higher with the climate change 2 degrees, even more per year, which is like a great threat to all the living species downstream, especially salmonids. So this is a new data coming in, and if you say that the ecosystems have always been there, the lakes are good for ecosystems, then I would strongly disagree. And then this is just one example with this survey that this is not a survivable way of living.
By lake, you mean reservoirs?
Yes, I think the
It's a really complicated question, and there are many different interests and problems. And I think that we are the approach that we are hearing here, that the best solution is get rid of all of the dams, is not a good solution, even from the point of view of many ecologists. We need to look every case by case. There are many reasons to remove dams and find solutions. But there are also questions of ecosystems and biodiversity and etc., genetic reasons where it is not reasonable to do so. Yeah, we should discuss more, and we cannot point out that this is bad and this is bad, and we can imply all of these assessments to throughout country and throughout situations, and doesn't care about also economic impacts of different stakeholders. And especially when there is no money to do it, even if there is a wish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Karin, you also raised your hand. Please speak.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say that I agree with all of you, because we have to look at every place to see what are the interests. But also we have to realize, because I quite often compare to wetlands, because in Sweden and in the southern part, 90% of all wetlands have been gone because we use it for agriculture. So you fill them up or drain them and so on. And the same happens when we do dams. We actually take away the rapids of the river. So, for example, in the southern parts of Sweden, almost 70% of all rapids are gone in our rivers. So even though the dams are, of course, a new ecosystem, but we have lakes, we have smaller wetlands that have that ecosystem. So what we have done is taking away a big part of the rapid ecosystems, and that's important to get back. And so we can't say it has always looked like this, because it hasn't. The rapids are really important ecosystem, not only for fish, but for many, many species, because there is where they spawn, they have their nursery areas, and you have the highest biodiversity often in these rapids. And since we have taken away 70% of all the rapids, we have to work the same way that we do with the wetlands to recreate them, get them back into our systems. So I think it's important to realize what we have lost when we have created the dams.
Thank you, Karin. Pao, please.
You're muted. We can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. I was saying that I completely agree with Karin, and that also the comment from the first the first speaker saying that we focus too much on fish, and this is crucial for other countries like southern countries, that they clearly tell you they don't give a damn because of fish. They don't care about fish. They tell you they just want the water. And that's a very strong and aggressive message from countries like Spain or Portugal. We are the greenhouse. We create our economy. The lobby is stronger than hydropower agriculture here, even stronger. And they just want to keep their agriculture. So we cannot focus on fish, actually. We need to focus on very other strong message. For example, the fact that this past century, we have created river systems, basins, that they cost us money. They don't give us benefits for free anymore, because we need to maintain them, because we create erosion, because we have water quality problems, because a big list. And we need to also, in some countries like Spain, Italy, France, we need to focus on saving, showing that this saves us money. Saves us money because of not dealing with water quality problems, not having to pay for damages because of flooding, or because of putting more and more concrete to defend some areas, because the banks of the river, the channel, is just eroding so much. So I think we need to, in some countries, maybe not in Northern Europe, but in other countries, we need to really change the narrative of why we are removing dams. Another thing is heritage. It's true that that's a strong opinion or comment about how we are going to remove. Here in Spain, we have dams that have been active for over 1,000 years. Actually, we have some dams that are almost 2,000 years. But we cannot keep all the heritage we have, right? It's because we need to really focus on also on the expenses. It would cost us so much money to keep all this infrastructure. We need to absolutely select and keep important ones, but we cannot select all, because we have to choose. Do you want to put all your money on just keeping and maintaining and repairing all infrastructure, or you want to maybe use that money for healthcare, for education? And this is something I bring up all the time to municipalities. Okay, fine. You want to keep your dam because it's a historical infrastructure, or because it created a new artificial habitat? Okay, but then who is going to pay for that? You're going to pay for it? Okay, your municipality is going to pay for it. So you will have to choose, maybe, because usually we're not rich, we don't have unlimited budgets in municipalities. You have to choose from doing other actions like in educational healthcare and keeping an old infrastructure and maintaining. I think it's an important message to highlight. Thank you.
Thank you. I would comment from the heritage point of view that, yes, of course, we all know that we can't keep all the heritage. Of course, that we have to pick the highlights. And what I can say from Estonian point of view, that we have made very, very many my God, I lost the word. We have demolished or we have taken away the dams which are not so important. So, but what we really hope these days is that, as we have our top sites in the question at the moment, that we can have a more discussion about these. That this is not only the question of it's a question of environment, and environment is a built environment and a human-made environment as well. We have been living in the nature, and we have created this environment. So we have to consider both sides.
Yeah, I can continue on that. So I have a question to the cultural heritage people, that if we now know more about the impacts of dams and maybe we don't use them in the same way as in the past, so maybe we as biologists and cultural heritage people should think together how to create a free-flowing river, but also preserve the buildings near the dam, so that we can somehow present the historical use of the river, but also the river could flow free.
Yeah, these things quite often have been done already in these cases where we can lose the dam, but there are cases where we cannot lose the dam. For example, there are some water mills, some hydroelectric plants which are really important. There are a handful of them in Estonia, of buildings which really would need the dam. But there is other thing as well, what we often do not consider as something related with the dams are the manor parks. In the 19th century, it was a very flourishing time for our manor parks to really create the big and lavish English-style gardens, and they often used dammed riverbeds there for their architectural style there. So it's not only the buildings but the landscape as well. And of course we should solve the problem together.
Yeah, I think the sad part is that quite often these really important dams for nature conservation and also important dams for cultural heritage, they are the same dams.
Yes, sadly. But why I asked for this Archimedes screw is that if you there in Sweden are really considering it and have made one such fish pass already, so it might be a hope for us here as well, maybe, hopefully.
Yes, as you told us, Karin, in Sweden you just started to study how it works, and this in Estonia, state ordered analysis of that Archimedes screw effectiveness in Estonian conditions. It was done a few years ago, and the results were not so good, and from point of, if I go to that, let's say, cultural heritage valuable dam and see Archimedes screw metallic one and compare it in my mind with natural bypass, I would prefer the last one.
8 meters of bypass, not really.
Yeah, but you are talking about one certain thing, but I am talking, well, let's say, wider. There are many objects, and still it is not effective probably according to that study in Estonia. And it was, we will see. I hope it works well in Sweden, but we will see.
Meelis, et põhimõtteliselt, nagu ma aru sain, et seda kruvilahendust ei ole mõtet proovida, et mõistlikum on ennem juba lammutada nii-öelda.
Vasta inglise keeles,
Vasta inglise keeles. Answer in English.
He asked, gentleman here asked, does he understand correctly that screw passage is nothing to consider and demolishing is the way to go?
Yes, from the poorly ecosystem point of view, of course, that is not good solution, and it has studied it doesn't give that good effect compared to other solutions, like we discussed here the whole my presentation time.
I know that research, and it's absolutely not suitable for big fishes like salmon and so on, and it's not for Estonian cases.
Et küsimus oli veel ka sedapidi, et nagu öelda veskivaramused tunnevad ennast ka selles suhtes, et ei tohi tekkida nagu öelda uuringu ja tõe monopoli nii-öelda, et täna on uuringute juures väga kitsas sihtrühm, kes on hästi manageeritud nii-öelda, ja kui me ainult otsime halba, aga me ei leia head ja me ei otsi toimivaid lahendused objektipõhiselt, see on probleem. Ja kui ma täna ka Looduskoiukeskusega või CleanESTiga või siis Maaülikooli, siis ma räägin alati ühtede inimestega, kõik, kes ongi kõik üks on ju nagu öelda. Ja Eestimaa on nii väike, et siia on vaja luua nagu öelda konkureeriv osapool nii-öelda, ka just teaduspoole pool leida ka positiivseid aspekte eriti oluline on see ka just ministeeriumi lõplike otsuste puhul. Et see on selline tähelepanek, et täna on, et seal, kus on otsus, et seal on raha, nagu öelda, seal, ja nii ta on.
It will be a wild translation. I'll try. Gentleman here is worried about, let's say, like a truth monopoly situation where the opinions are given by a really small group of people all the time, and maybe positive aspects are overlooked, or many aspects. And he proposes a wider range of scientists and people to discuss over the problems, as I understood correctly. Maybe somebody would like to add to my translation.
Last one, Pao, please speak. Your hand is raised.
Yeah, but I think first I was Marieka's. She raised her hand first, and then Karin. So go ahead.
Well, now my question is a bit out of this topic, because as I said before, we are in different situations in Slovenia, but I would like to go to the things that Karin said in her presentation about public opinion. And now with the situation when the energy is getting expensive, this is one of the problems in Slovenia, that they are always saying, where do we get energy from if we don't get it from the hydropower? Because in Slovenia, we have a problem with a lot of big coverage with Natura 2000, and now like nothing is possible, not the wind, not the coal, not the water. So how do you deal with this public opinion, or more with politics opinion, that maybe this is the only solution at the moment?
And Pao, your turn.
Okay, so going back just to the comment of one of the gentlemen saying the question, so fishways are not the best solution, I think he said in Estonian. I would like just to add that, well, my background is in fishway designs and evaluation with telemetry, acoustic, PID, and radio tagging before getting specialized in dam removal. And I would like to say it's a pity that the society thinks that the fishways can solve the problem. That's the panacea, and it's not at all. First, because the fishway only solves partially one of the problems, just migratory fish, but not sediment, nutrients, water quality, avoiding erosion of channels, incision, a bunch of impacts. But even just for fish passage, it doesn't solve the whole problem, because a fishway, the efficiency of a fishway, the maximum efficiency, if you are the best designer of fishways in the world, the maximum is 90%. And that's very rare to get 90% passage. That's super rare. Usually the efficiency is 30%, 40%, 50%. But okay, another situation, imaginary situation. Imagine that you have all the money in the world to build all the fish passage, and you have the best fishway designers in the world, both, okay? Okay, then look to a river basin. Look how many barriers you have in your river basin. Maybe you have one every 2 kilometers, one every 10 kilometers. So maybe in your river, you have to build, imagine, 15 fishways, okay? And you have the money, and you have the best fish designer. How many fish are you going to get up at the end of the 15 fishways? Because your maximum efficiency is 90%. So you lose 10% of the population in the first fishway, 10% of the population. In the best scenario, again, I repeat, it's super rare to have 90% of the efficiency. So at the end of the story, you have spent millions of euros building these 15 fishways, and you have very few fish upstream. And another addition, what is the delay on going through all these fishways? Because fish do not reproduce like humans. They have a biological clock. and they have to reproduce in the correct timing. So, and going through a fish way, usually they have a delay. So at the end of the story, you have very few fish going through your through all the fish ways with maybe a delay. It has cost you millions of euros for what? So it's not the panacea. I always say it. I used to design fish ways, and yes, in some cases there's not an other option, but in other cases it's always is not the best solution. And you can actually see one of a very, very good example in France, where the Putes Dam in the center east of France, center east of France, where EDF, the strongest hydropower company in France, the biggest, they didn't want to remove the Putes Dam because, and there was a huge pressure to remove it because of salmon. There is a very good wild salmon population in Loire River, okay? And at the end, the best solution they found, because they didn't want to remove it, was to lower the dam. Why? Because the lower is the dam, the less long is the reservoir. And the reservoir is also a barrier for the fish, because when the fish enters to a reservoir that are artificial, the fish is like a human in the middle of the desert. They don't know where to go. There is not a current. They get lost and they don't find the way upstream. So they lower the dam, so the reservoir would be shorter, so the barrier would be shorter. They built 2 fish ways in both sides. That's a long story, but it's not easy for a fish to find a fish way. And sometimes they don't have a sign saying this way, to the right, to the left, right? It's very complicated. So they built two fish ways to both of the sides of the dam. But in salmoniid migration period, in those 3 months, they completely open the gates and there's no barrier in the river. So they don't produce energy. So imagine, even if they have 2 fish ways, the best solution is to completely open the dam during the 3 months. So again, definitely fish ways is not the solution. Thank you.
We have only 10 minutes right now, so I'm going further.
One small comment. I also, we have studied even some fish, they made some fish studies in Slovenia too, and I remember Slovenia is different from Estonia by landscape. We are still the problem. What you in Sweden solve with hydropower and in Slovenia and mountainous countries, you really solve big problems, but we are getting here less than 1% of energy consumption if we dam all our rivers, and that is what we should think about. We are talking about absolutely different things sometimes with people from different countries.
Okay.
Küsimus on Sloveeniale, et kas Sloveenia teeb ka, kas teil oli ka suvel põud, on ju, ja kas te tegite ka pingutusi siis vee sisemaal hoidmisega, et Prantsusmaal, nagu öelda, võeti vanad paisud kasutusele sisevaal vee hoidmiseks. Et see on küsimus. Küsi, Mart. Küsi, Agne.
So the question was for Slovenia, that during this summer, did you have a drought period as well? And if you had a drought, then did you put in any effort to keep the water in the reservoirs more than before? Because, for example, in France, they started to use old dams to keep more water inside these reservoirs during the drought period to have at least some water. The question was for Slovenia.
This summer was actually extremely opposite because we had floods in August. Maybe you saw it in the news. We had big floods which damaged quite a big area in Slovenia, destroyed houses and infrastructure. And this is also one of things, maybe sometimes where the arguments with dams are, is there really how do you say, protection against floods, because this is one of the arguments from the, how do you say, those that are for the dams. Because in the past we had a case where in time of floods, the water was not left forward from the dam correctly in Austria, and Slovenia was flooded. And there was a big fear now again about this, that with the dams where there is a lot of water, when suddenly there is a flood, they open the dams and the water comes, and then there's problem downstream. But about the droughts, I have to say I'm not very familiar with this. Because we also, I think Slovenia is very bad in the infrastructure for using the water for agriculture. Here we're also bad in this. We don't have so much infrastructure for using the water in the agriculture, like taking it from the like lakes like this. But this is also one of things that in some part of Slovenia, they are using the floods as excuse to make this kind of reservoirs and to create dams.
Thank you. We are going to the next question because we have only 7 minutes and
yes, but we have to discuss the solutions as well. Because
yes,
now we have
but what we are
I have solutions. my comments about this is about solutions as well.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Can we move on to the solutions now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I had some comments about everything, yeah, but about the solutions. First of all, I had over there some question or some maybe a debate on the solutions about the cultural heritage and also about other interests as well. So if we do compare everything with money, in my opinion, it all comes down to the money. You earn something, it needs some sort of maintenance money. We need something for fishermen, whatever. The overall economy gains from fishermen and so on. So if it all comes down to the money, and the cultural heritage need also the preservation money. So my question is, if the lose, we're talking about River Kunda, for example, at the moment, if we lose about 250,000 of fish value per year, can't we just preserve the river like in India, for example? It's a great solution over there, so that we benefit yearly or in decades, we benefit to or give some money to the object to maintain, and fish can travel freely. So we can still have the value from the river, but we can still maintain, because I understand that the fear now is that if we lose the dam, then the cultural heritage will be ruined and nobody is going to take care of this, because the active maintenance is going to be lost, because there will be no business, there will be no money to generate to keep up with the cultural heritage. So my solution maybe is that can't we just discuss that, okay, we open the dam, we don't demolish the whole dam, because the cultural heritage will remain in the most natural way, whatever. We remain as much as possible, just maybe little holes down the dam so the fish can pass, but we can have the money and the economic value to preserve the dam. Then I had some arguments or some answers for you as well, that you say that maybe our information is very like tilted on one side, that our arguments are very tilted. I would answer you that also the counter arguments are very tilted. If you say that the research is done by only the same names, I would say that the answers or the counter arguments come also from the very, very same names. So it's tilted on the other way. And in my opinion, the solutions right here maybe and in overall can't be found. That's why we are in court in so many cases. We're in court in Arabus, actually. We're caught in Kunda. We're in court in other cases as well. This means we can't find the solution. We can't compromise. We tried it so many times, but we can't. So the only option is that somebody will solicit. So in our case, it will be the court, because we do trust in Estonia that we do have sõltumatu kohus. independent court. So we go there for the solutions. Right now here it is very difficult to solicit the solutions, but in my opinion it would be wise maybe to open the cards and say that, hey, you are willing, you want to earn money, you're a businessman, your object is clear, money. So if your company, your business can generate certain amount of money and the river value, economic value, environmental value is X times higher, can't we just like come up to a solution? Like, why don't we agree or discuss these matters? This is my maybe question.
Can I have a...
Could be,
it's quite short. I would say yes, it's all about the money. And it's all about the maintenance of heritage. If you can't use your heritage object, then you will not, let it stay and it will be a ruin. That's what happened in Yandia. That's where we are all happy. The solution is happy from the heritage point of view and from the ecological, from a fish point of view. And in these cases where we really have discussions, and I don't think that the court will solve because from the heritage point of view, we really can't see that we have had enough discussion and have tried to find the solution. That's the one thing, but it's all about the money. Yes, if we don't use the buildings, they will get into ruins, and we do not have our heritage anymore.
2 minutes.
It is sad for me to listen that it is just about money. we are doing what we are doing not for money, and Jan, ecosystem functions in its own way. It doesn't matter who is studying it. Ecosystem still functions independently, but yes, don't reduce it and don't make things very small. Talking now, he was offering, let's say, monetary way of that, but still, let's say, motivation is above money of Tanel. He was just talking about money as a tool. I just was listening very loud the statement.
Karin,
so, sorry.
Karin, you had also raised your hand.
Yes, I raised it for quite a while ago because I just want to comment on the Archimedes screw. This one is a double, so you will get both up and downstream. The ones that have been studied is only one way. And also this one is a very big one, so it actually takes fish over 1 meter, so it takes the salmonids. But it will be interesting to see how it works. There are in Germany and in Austria, they have them on and have had them for a while, and through them we know that they seem to work quite well. But I agree with Pau, fish passages are not the solution. They should be used where you can't remove, where you have interest that says we can't remove it and we can't find a better solution. Then this can be a good solution, because we have to have both upstream and downstream migration. And of course, the best solution is to have nature-based solutions, because we need to get back the ecosystem functions. It's not, we don't have to get back to exactly what it looked like before humans came and altered it, but we have to get back the functions of the river, because that's the important stuff, not how it exactly looks. And the solution, I say, is dialogue. And our friend from Slovenia took up the public opinion and so on. I think we have to be out also talking about the importance of rivers and historical heritage and hydropower to get energy, because all of this are important for us humans, because we need it. We need food, we need water for a lot of purposes. So I think dialogue and communication and information is one big part of the solution, because if we don't have that, we will always end up in court. And I think that's not the way to go.
Veel kord, et ka võib-olla Meelis ja aitavad tõlkida, et ka veskivaram oleks olnud, Tanel rääkis sellest sindist ja jändest ja kaasa arvatud ka muinsuskaitse ja veskivaram oleks väga kurb, kui me oleks katsetanud seal muinsuskaitse objektil kruvikalapääsu ja oleks pärast selgunud, et see ei sobi näiteks jändjal. Et see võti projektide õnnestumise kohta on ka objektide õigeaegne omandamine ja kokkuleppele jõudmine omanikega. See toimis jändjas ja sindis ja selles mõttes on see ka Euroopas kilomeetri efektiivsuse mõttes on suur. Et igasuguste järgmiste kaalumiste, kui paned kilomeetri efektiivsust, seda latti üle hüpata on päris keeruline ja eriti näiteks Linnamäel just. Et aga kõigile jõudu oma seisukohtade väljatoomisel ja asjad. Et tõlgid äkki Meelis äkki.
We are over time. 3 minutes.
See on ka selles mõttes, et te alati meid hoiatate, et vaadake, et te jamagi tee nii.
Last one is Jürgen. Meelis, translate and then it's Jürgen and then it's okay.
Jan said some good words about good solutions and in Yandia case, for instance, and it also took 20 years to reach that point. But and Jan, one point was that it is very often good to analyze everything before you do something, and he said he is happy that they didn't use that Archimedes screw solution in one of their cases, because afterwards it is, let's say, feeling that or obvious that it would have been not so good solution.
Ja veel lõpetuseks, et täname veel demokraatia eest, et meil on antud ka mitmetel objektidel võimalus valesti teha.
And he is happy that they have had opportunity to do wrong solutions too, because that is the way how people learn.
Yeah.
But very expensive way.
Yeah, last way.
It's very important.
Yes, failing is the best way to learn. But I wanted to just offer a thought for a solution on small rivers. So if I think about small rivers where quite often the dams are not so culturally valuable and they are not producing hydroenergy, then I have heard from local people that the main concern is that they are losing the recreational area with the open view open view lake. So they are losing this, and then officials or scientists are saying that we should remove the dam because of the fish or because European directives tell us this, but I think the motivation should come from inside the community more, not from European Union. And nowadays we have these technical solutions that we should offer the locals some visual pictures what they are getting if we are removing the dam, that they are losing the open lake, but maybe they will have a open view flat plain with a windy river and recreational area. So they are not only losing, they are also gaining some recreational area.
May I just 2 sentences to add? And you told that local people are very often against the removal, but the actual thing is that there are different opinions in local levels too. We have been in many meetings of local communities, and there are different opinions of different people, not so that locals are against and state is forcing something. It's not that easy.
Okay, thank you all. We are over time and we need to go back in the big hole. I guess we need more communication, dialogue. Today we saw that you all want to say something, so we need to more talk. And now we are finishing. I'm not Siratis breaking up. Yeah.